Welcome back to another episode of Drenda Reacts, where I, Drenda, react to a news clip or something that Tom, my son, or Josh, my producer, throw out in front of me. I don't know what they're going to share with me, but today they said I'm going to be reacting to Trump's best moments from the CNN town hall. And to be truthful, I haven't seen it because I refuse to watch CNN. But I heard that it's one of his greatest campaign advertisements ever, so I really can't wait to see it. Let's go for it.
No questions are off the table, and we agreed to no conditions. We're here to get voters the answers that they deserve. Please welcome the frontrunner for the Republican nomination, former President Donald Trump.
If you look at what's gone to our country has gone to hell. Our borders are bad. Our military has been bad. You look at the taxes, you look at inflation, what's happened to inflation, it's just destroying our country. We've really become, in many ways, a third world country. And it's very sad what's happened in this administration. And it's something that will turn around on day one. We were energy independent. Now energy is at a level that we've never had to pay before. Nobody can afford to continue to pay what's happening with energy. But we were energy independent. We were getting out of Afghanistan with strength and with dignity. And instead we got out, we looked like fools, probably the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. One of the big problems was that Nancy Pelosi, Crazy Nancy as I affectionately call her, Crazy Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington were in charge, as you know, of security. And they did not do their job. They're not in charge of the
National Guard. You're in charge of the National Guard.
Well, I offered them National Guard.
Yes,
I said,
he
we'll give you
did.
soldiers, we'll give you National Guard, we'll give you whatever you want. And they turned me down.
That's
and in
right.
fact, she turned me down. She turned me down in writing.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about that speech that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
I actually like the audience on CNN.
So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now I use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope
Nice plug for Truth Social, I agree.
everybody's on I hope everybody's on Truth. If you look January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth, and I'm staying on Truth.
And I'm on Truth Social, too.
Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early.
Mr. President, I looked at the same timeline that you did.
No, I know, but you didn't report that. You know why? Because it was taken down.
We did report it. I was reporting that day.
It was taken down.
That's right.
But when it was clear to you
They took it down. They
that
didn't
they
want
were
them to
not
know.
being peaceful, you saw them rushing the Capitol, breaking windows,
No,
they were
no,
hitting
no, no.
officers with flagpoles, tasing them, beating them up. When it was clear they weren't being peaceful, why did you wait 3 hours to tell them to leave the Capitol? They listen to you like no one else. You know that.
They do. I agree with that. But
So why didn't you tell them to go home sooner?
Nancy Pelosi and the mayor are in charge. I assume they were able to do their job. They weren't.
But
And
Pelosi's
it kicked
not in
in.
charge of Capitol
And if you remember,
security.
I just want to say I was there. I went into Mike Pompeo's office to pray for him that day. I'd been there prior. I'd seen the grounds. I'd seen the people. It was grandmas. It was families. It was preachers. It was groups of people that were singing hymns, singing church songs, singing God Bless America songs, praying. It was a peaceful group of people. I went in Mike Pompeo's office and prayed, and then this is when this stuff broke out. But even when we were leaving Washington, D.C., everybody reacted and moved. They closed the city down, and we were told to be out by 5 o'clock. we were hustling to get out of there, it was all still very peaceful. The small things that we've seen in all of these videos and everything, we now know that there were provocateurs by the FBI that were a part of the group and part of the crowd. There's video footage of them motioning people into the Capitol. By and large, 99% of everything there was completely peaceful. And we know that some of the people that were wearing different clothing were not Trump people, and they were not Trump people. So they were provocateurs, they were plants, and they were people who were there to try to create violence. That's my observation.
Made a video right outside the Oval Office in the Rose Garden, and I'm very proud of that video. I didn't have a script. I don't need scripts like a certain person that's in there right now.
What time, the video, it came out much later after they had already
Yeah.
Going
Even with
back to your
scripts, you
influence,
can't do it.
In
Here's
that
another
3
one I
hours,
posted.
over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
That's right.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed.
That's right.
And that thug that killed her,
Yes.
there was no reason to shoot her.
Absolutely.
At blank range, cold blank range,
right.
they shot her.
Yeah.
And she was a good person. She was a patriot.
Yes, she
One
There was
person
no
who was
reason
there-
to. There
She
was no
served in
reason.
our country's
And
military.
He went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he
Oh,
killed
he
her,
was
but one
bragging.
person.
Will you pardon the January 6 rioters who were convicted of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But
Oh,
you know, when you look at
Antifa.
Antifa, what they've done to Portland, and if you look at Antifa, look at what they've done to Minneapolis and so many other
And Walk Free,
places.
nothing.
Look at what they did to Seattle and BLM. Many people were killed.
Yes.
These people, I'm
Children.
not trying to justify anything, but you have two standards of justice in this country.
Yes.
And what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing. And then what they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people.
Yes.
And yeah, my answer is I am most likely, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them. You know, they did a very...
Yes. Yay.
It'll
Yes.
be very early on. And they're living in hell
Yep.
right now.
So when it comes
they're
to
living
pardons-
in
They have a
hell.
Guantanamo Bay
and
for
they're
them,
policemen,
basically.
and they're firemen, and they're soldiers, and they're
Yes.
carpenters and electricians, and they're great people. Many of them
Yes.
are just great people.
Mr.
They're
President,
just
one
trying
of
to stand up for
the
our
people who
freedom,
was
the
convicted
right to
was a former
protest.
policeman, but he was convicted of attacking a police officer, I should note. But when you said you are considering pardoning a large portion of those charged with crimes on January 6th, does that include the 4 Proud Boys members who were charged and convicted of seditious conspiracy?
I don't know. I'd have to look at their case, but I will say in Washington, D.C., you cannot get a fair trial. You cannot.
That's
Just
right.
like in New York City,
Absolutely.
you can't get a fair
It was
trial.
Gotham City corruption to
What is the
max.
first thing you would do to help bring down the cost to make things more affordable?
Drill, baby, drill.
Amen.
When we have
Yes. We
a
had
debt
energy,
limit, and they used that
independence.
very seriously. I mean,
The
they
Biden
came in,
administration
Schumer
took
came
that
in
down.
with Nancy Pelosi, and they were using, we'll violate it, we'll do whatever. They talked a whole lot different than they do right now. I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default. And I don't believe they're going to do a default because I think the Democrats will absolutely cave because you don't want to have that happen. But it's better than what we're doing right now.
That's right.
Because
At some point, we have to make a decision. We're not going to keep raising the budget ceiling when especially the Democrats and the Biden administration are spending our tax dollars on horrific things. And until they stop, we have to hold strong and hold the line and say, no, we are not raising the budget any longer. We're not raising the debt ceiling any longer. Cut your crap out of our stuff. Cut all your spending out.
Spending money like drunken sailors.
So
You know
just
the
to be clear,
expression?
Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree to the spending cuts Republicans
Well,
are
you
demanding?
might as well do it now because you'll do it later.
That's right.
Because
We're
we
already
have to
31
save this
trillion in
country.
debt.
Our country is dying. Our
Yes.
country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the
That's
Oval
when I was
Office.
president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president. We have a very
He is a little charming at times.
big mental health problem in
Yeah,
this
we do.
country.
And it deals with
again,
drugs,
it's not the gun that
fentanyl, and all
pulls the
the
trigger.
things.
It's the person that pulls the trigger.
That's right.
And
Guns
we have
are
to
not our
protect our
problem.
Second Amendment.
It's people.
We have to protect our Second Amendment.
Mr. President, you dealt with a lot of mass shootings when you were in office. This year, there have already been more than 200 mass shootings in 2023. If you are reelected, are there any new gun restrictions that you would sign into law?
I would do numerous things. For instance, schools, we would harden, very much harden. And I'm a very believer. I believe in teachers. I love teachers. I think they're incredible. And they love the children, not quite like the parents, but they love the children in many cases almost as much. Many of these teachers are soldiers, ex-soldiers, ex-policemen. They're people that really understand weapons. And you don't need 5% of the teachers would be more than you could ever have if you're going to hire security guards. But in addition to that, have security guards. You have to harden your entrances. You have to make schools safe. And you can make other places safe. But it is a big mental health problem in this country more than anything else. If you look at Chicago has the
Demonic
single
spirits.
toughest gun policies
Yes,
in the
Chicago's
nation.
the worst
They are
place.
so tough you can't breathe. New York too, and other
Yes.
places also.
And
all
also
of
the
those
greatest
places
crime.
are the worst and most dangerous places. So that's not the answer. I consider the other side to be radical because the other side, under Roe v. Wade and other things, the other side, they're radical because they will. Remember the
Kill a
debate with
baby up
Hillary
till
Clinton? They
it's
said,
born and
rip
after.
the baby out of the womb at the end of the 9th month. They will kill the baby in the 9th month. If you look at that crazy governor of Virginia from the former governor, where he said, no, the baby will be born, and then we'll decide essentially whether or not to execute
But
the
Mr.
baby.
President, can we talk about
Yeah.
what you would do if
No,
you
but these are the
you
radical people.
reelected?
It's not the pro-life people
That's
that are
right.
But if
radical.
you are
It's these
reelected and
people.
you're
That's
People
right.
that will
Just
kill
telling
a
it like it
baby
is.
in the 9th month or the 8th month or
Yes.
the 7th
Would
month
cheat on
or
election,
after the
would do
baby is
anything
born,
else.
they're the radicals,
Yes.
not the pro-life
I just want to
people.
give
Yes, they are the radicals.
You're going to have millions of people pouring into our country right now at a level that nobody's ever seen before. These people are sick. Anybody that wants this to happen to our country, they're destroying our country, and this should not be allowed to happen. How they're not going to do a version of Title 42 or my Title 42, which was tough. If people are sick and have infectious diseases and lots of other problems, we don't want them being into our country. We have enough problems right
Or
now.
terrorists.
We have problems like we've never had in the history of our country.
But, Mr. President,
our country
the
is
reason it's
being
ending-
destroyed. A country has to have borders.
Speaking of being destroyed, I think he's destroying her.
There's never been anything like is happening to our country
You
right
built
now.
about 52 miles of new wall when you were in office,
Say this?
Mr. President. It wasn't the complete wall. One other thing that with
No, but I have to
immigration,
respond to that.
with your immigration, it was only about 52
can I
miles of
respond?
new wall.
This is what she does. I built hundreds of miles. Some of the wall was up there, and it would be laying on the ground, rusted, rotten steel, rusted, rotten wood, a little. And what the radical left, crazy Democrats did, if there's a piece of wood laying down, they consider that a wall. I built 30-foot walls that go down 7 feet into the ground. If there was a little piece of wood sitting in the ground, they said, oh, he's not building a wall. We already had a wall. Because this is the game. They're a party of
they fought
disinformation.
the
It's not a
wall.
game, Mr. President. It's about 52 miles of new wall. One other immigration policy you had
I built
when you were
new
in
wall.
office.
I built new wall.
52 miles
for
according
hundreds
to
of miles.
CBP, Mr.
What I did is I
President.
replaced other wall that was laying down, that was up and rotting in the ground for 30 years. If I were president, this would have never happened. And even the Democrats admit that. Putin knew it would have never happened.
It's true.
And his pipeline would have never happened. A lot of things would have never happened. But this
Which
would never have
Democrats
happened.
say that,
And
Mr.
all those
President?
dead people, both Russian and Ukrainian, they wouldn't be dead today. And all those cities that are blown up and disintegrated right to the ground, that wouldn't have happened.
Would you give Ukraine weapons
I was
and
impeached
funding?
by a crazy woman named Nancy
But
Pelosi.
the question here is, would you give Ukraine
Yep.
weapons and funding if you were
I would
elected?
sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
Wow.
How would you say
I believe it.
Because I'll meet with Putin, I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be
Do
absolutely
you
over.
want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down.
Yes.
Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there and I took what I took, and it gets declassified. Biden, on the other hand, he has 1,850 boxes.
Yes.
He had boxes sent to
While he was VP.
Chinatown, where they don't speak even English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
Can I got to
nobody
stop
Why
right
did
there
you send him to
because-
Talk about us.
Chinatown, Biden? Tell
just
us.
so you understand, I had every right to do it. I didn't make a secret of it.
That's
you know, the
right.
boxes were stationed outside of the White House. People were taking pictures of the GSA of the various
I
people.
got to stop you right there,
that
though,
were
because the
moving.
Presidential Records Act, which is not well known to a lot of people, I read it. It does not say that you can take documents with you. It says actually that they are the property of the federal
It says you talk,
government
you
when
negotiate,
leave.
you make a deal. It's not criminal, by the way.
does not-
It's
it does
the
not say that you
Presidential
can
Records Act.
negotiate.
It's
It's not criminal, then why do you?
And,
why did they?
just so
It does
you
not
know,
say you can
Charge
negotiate to
Mar-a-Lago
take
like that.
documents with
Crazy.
you.
Can I tell you? Just so you understand, the Presidential Records Act is not criminal. I took the documents I'm allowed to. You know who else took them? Obama took them. Nixon took them.
Obama did
Reagan
not take
took them.
documents.
Oh, he didn't?
The difference,
He
the
didn't?
difference
Yes,
here
he
that I'd like to
did.
note,
Reagan
National
And
took
some
them.
Records says
furniture.
that President Obama
Even
did
Jimmy
not
Carter,
take
even Mike
documents.
Pence had some documents, and he's a
You
very
referenced
honorable
Pence,
guy.
you referenced
But you know who
Biden.
took them more than anybody is Joe Biden. He has
Yes.
1,800 boxes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
not
Nobody
true.
even knows
Yeah.
where
I'm
they
getting
are.
a little heated.
1,800. And nobody talks about him.
That's right.
It
What
included
happened
a
when you had
raid
those
on my
documents?
house. That's what it included.
But
They
you had
didn't raid.
you'd gotten a
they didn't
subpoena
raid
and they had not
Biden's
been
house.
turned over yet.
They didn't raid Biden's house. You know what happened? They put him in the house. That's the one with the Corvette where the documents were laying
Yes.
all over the floor. That was fine. And you know who happens to be at Mar-a-Lago? Secret Service, and they're phenomenal. I have Secret Service. He didn't have Secret Service. The other thing, the vice president cannot declassify. He didn't have the right to declassify. He has documents from when he was a senator. And even Democrat
Yes.
senators say, I can't
Criminal.
believe it. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden.
Right.
They didn't raid Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like
Joe
you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850 boxes.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was
He was
seeking
actually
them and then had given you a
cooperating with the
subpoena to
archives
return
department
them.
over it.
Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer
Oh,
why you,
nasty
why you
women.
held on to the documents?
I was negotiating, and we were talking to NARA, that's Washington, to bring whatever they want. They can have whatever they want. When we left Washington, we had the boxes lined up on the sidewalk outside for everybody. People are taking pictures of them. Everybody knew we were taking
And
those
the
boxes.
National Archives
and the
knew it.
GSA, the government service, the GSA was the one taking them. They brought them down to Mar-a-Lago. We were negotiating with NARA. All of a sudden, they raid our house. When Biden had his documents, he won't give back the 1,850 boxes. And you're going to find some real gems in there. Let me
That's
ask you a
right.
question. Why is it that Biden had 9 boxes in Chinatown?
Exactly.
And he gets a lot of money from China.
That's
why is that?
right.
And
There
why,
is no
why
evidence of
aren't
that,
people?
Mr. President. No, you cannot
why
say
aren't
that. There
people
is no
bringing that
evidence
up?
of that, Mr.
And why don't they
President.
put this
What
guy
you're
Jack
referring
Smith
to
and his
is an
group of
office that he had.
thugs?
Mr.
Why don't
President,
they put him in charge of that?
I need to stop you right there because there's no evidence of what you just said there. What you're referring to there is an office that he had
No,
after
that's
leaving
at the
the
University
vice
of
presidency.
Pennsylvania.
He had a temporary
University
office.
of
But I want to ask you about
Pennsylvania.
another
Hmm.
investigation
You're so
that you're
wrong.
facing.
You don't know the subject.
I do know the
He
He
subject.
had
and I
one
do
at
know the
University
facts,
of
Mr.
Pennsylvania,
President.
but he also had
I want to
9
move on to
boxes
another
in
investigation that
Chinatown.
you're facing, which is the one that's
She doesn't
happening
understand
in
it.
Georgia, where
We are really putting it to Biden, but he's putting it to himself because the economy
true.
stinks, inflation is horrible, and the border is a disaster. And by the way he got out of Afghanistan was the single most embarrassing
Yes.
moment in the
Oh
history
my
of our
gosh.
country.
Yes.
And you know what? If I don't win, this country is going to be in big trouble. It's so sad to see what's happening.
I
but
have
no
to
commitment there
agree.
on the accepting the results regardless of the outcome.
If it's an honest election, correct, I will.
Okay, so not committing to
my
accepting the
gosh.
2024
They always
election
love to
results
ask that.
or acknowledging what happened in 2020.
Go ahead.
President Trump, I want to thank you for coming here tonight. This is an important conversation with voters to hear and to have. Thank you to our audience and to our host, St. Anselm College.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you
now
very much, Kate.
she has a primetime spot at CNN. So I think he did an amazing job. I'm really happy with the crowd. I don't know if
like
these
you
people
guys.
pretended they were
We love
Republicans,
New Hampshire.
Democrats. I don't know how they got in there, but
Thank you, Louise.
I love
Good
the
luck,
crowd.
Louise.
It's pretty cool. And I can see why people were happy with the interview. I think Trump, yeah, he took it to her, and she deserved it. That's what I think.